So right here, I'm on the clock. I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars. This to me is a no-brainer. It's always been a no-brainer. It's Trevor
Mhm.
Lawrence all the way. I mean, we can spend a little bit of time maybe talking about Trevor
Yeah,
Lawrence because nobody's really talked about Trevor Lawrence.
nobody
He's
does
awesome.
ever.
Yeah, he's awesome. I think the most special thing about him is how quick his feet are at 6'6". He navigates tight pockets like so well for a 6'6" guy. He
Mhm.
has as probably as quick a release as you can have for a 6'6" guy. Great thrower outside the numbers, accurate. He's everything you're looking for. Um, he had kind of a weird interview recently, but I think that authenticity sometimes gets oversold by the media and stuff like that. He's a no-brainer, and yeah, that's the pick.
Yeah, and then furthermore, I think this was the pick since his maybe even before his freshman year. I mean, he was talking about being a first overall pick since senior year of high school, and then he tore up college football his freshman year, and no one's really ever doubted him since. It's kind of just he's been penciled into this draft as the number one, and everyone thought it was the Jets all year. Then Sam Darnold took over a couple games, and the Jaguars and Minshew Mania, they won week one against the Colts and then dropped 15 straight. And so they got the number one pick. So it'll be interesting because, small market teams, I guess you don't really hear about this big of a prospect going there. I wouldn't say the Colts are really that small market compared to Jacksonville because the Colts have been, a really good team and they've had a couple of the bigger guys. But man, this is going to be interesting to see the Lawrence experience in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised the Colts aren't making this pick, you know. They had what? They went Elway, who then didn't want to play for them. Then they got Manning, then they got Luck. It feels like every generational or the guy that's considered to be generational
Yeah.
prospect goes to Indianapolis. And one more thing I just wanted to ask you is I actually think Jacksonville has an opportunity to be a very good team next year. Now,
Yes.
Urban Meyer has been successful everywhere he's gone, but I think he's a little bit of an unknown in the NFL. But just judging by his college, he's obviously a really great coach. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to walk in and be a top 17, 18 quarterback in the NFL, maybe top
Mhm.
15, which is a really good quarterback. I think DJ Chark is the number one receiver. I keep telling people, fantasy football, go pick up DJ Chark. He's going to be
Yeah,
special
he's
next
pretty
year.
good.
They have Cam Robinson coming back. Juwan Taylor's an okay right tackle. On defense, Miles Jack is a superstar. They have two young pass rushers with high
Mhm.
potential in Josh Allen, Caleb Chase. CJ Henderson was a baller. So I think Jacksonville has an opportunity to be really good next year, actually. I think they can even sneak into the playoffs. What do you think?
Yeah, I like him a lot. James Robinson's a beast too. I know that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Undrafted free agent. They cut Fournette and everyone's like, "Oh, what are they doing?" They traded Calais Campbell for a fifth rounder and everyone's like, "Oh, the Ravens robbed them." They really have kind of been gearing towards this, just like a mini teardown, but it's been quiet. You look at 2017, you're like, Telvin Smith, he, left the team. They traded Ramsey for 2 firsts.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Jack's really the only core guy that's there. I mean, they had Malik Jackson, he's gone. They had,
Booyah.
yeah, they had Bouye. So their team kind of got tore down really fast. And, that 2017 team was awesome. And then, I think if you remember the Patriots game the next year in 2018, they beat them and everyone's like, Jacksonville's on top. And it's just been downhill ever since that primetime game. Um,
Yeah.
but
That
yeah,
was the Keelan Cole game.
yeah, Keelan Cole. I was gonna mention him. He had that insane one-handed catch, and they just
Yeah.
killed the Patriots. But yeah, literally ever since then, it's just been straight downhill. But it looks good for them, honestly. Like I'm kind of excited to see what they can do in a pretty weak division. I'll say.
Yeah, and they have 5 picks in the top 100
Yes,
and a
they do.
ton of cap space. This really the Jacksonville like Trevor Lawrence is going to a better situation than both Kyler Murray and Joe Burrow, the last two number one
Yeah.
picks, went to. And so I think really if Jacksonville screws this up, man, then they're just the Jaguars because they're really in an optimum position to build a juggernaut.
And I did want to say too. So they have picked top 5 a lot in the 2010s. The only time they got a quarterback was Bortles, and he doesn't even get remotely close to the level of prospect that Trevor Lawrence is. So, it'll be interesting to see. I wasn't a big fan of the Shaq Griffin signing, to be honest with you, with how much they paid him, but he's decently talented. So, we'll see.
All right, Blake, here we go. Pick 2. You're on the clock. Who are you taking for the New York Jets?
So Schefter already welcomed him to New York. He comes from BYU. It's a quarterback. I'm going Zach Wilson. I think he'll be an awesome fit for the Mike LaFleur scheme. Insanely quick release, cannon of an arm, a little smaller frame, which is kind of worrying, but I mean, this dude can make all the throws, all the arm angles outside the pocket. He is a dangerous man. He's the type of guy when he gets out of the pocket, some guys look to run immediately. He's looking to make a pass like 50 yards downfield, and he'll flick it to whoever. He really popped off last year. He wasn't really on the radar after his junior year. Open competition quarterback coming into the year, won that. And then BYU, I mean, for the level of competition they faced, they're a really dominant school. So I think they maybe lost once. They were playing.
Yeah,
really
they lost
well.
to Coastal Carolina in the game that was like set up like 2 days before the game was played. But yeah. I mean, I think you said it. Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I know a lot of people are starting to get down on him. I've always been pretty consistently high. He's always been tied for my second best quarterback in the draft after Trevor Lawrence. You mentioned it, explosive arm. I think his legs are actually explosive too.
They're pretty good.
Perfect, perfect fit for Mike LaFleur's scheme. I think Mike LaFleur will be running a variation of the Shanahan offense that's closer to what his brother's been running in Green Bay, especially what his brother ran last year. They got Corey Davis. They got Denzel Mims. Becton's awesome. I think the Jets, it's looking up. I think they still don't have a very good team, but I think in terms of Zach Wilson, I think it's a good fit and a good pick.
Mm-hmm. Now, Vish. So
now,
is it Mac Jones or Kyle Pitts time? I mean, you tell me.
This is what everybody's been waiting for. Again, if this was a prediction at this point, I'm not going to lie. It would be tough not to predict Mac Jones. But guess what? Blake and Vish Sports isn't in the game of doing predictions. We're here to tell you who we would take. And to me, this is a no-brainer. To me, there's only 3 quarterbacks in this draft that are top 5 picks. I think Jones and Lance are definite first-round picks. I don't think they're top 5 picks. So to me, this is Justin Fields all the way. He's tied for my second-rated quarterback in this draft with Zach Wilson. I think he's a pretty decent fit actually into the Shanahan offense. It would just have to be modeled a different way. I think his running is great. He's been a star his whole life. For me, it's Justin Fields, no brainer.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, a lot of the media has been saying Mac Jones this, Mac Jones that. I've really always thought like Fields was the guy they were going up for. Like he is a really, really good prospect. Now he's the 3rd quarterback taken. So you'd be thinking like, usually the 3rd quarterback taken, it's not a top 5 guy. You think of 2018 and who was the 3rd taken then? Was it Josh Allen?
It was Josh Allen.
Yeah. Josh Allen. So he went to 7 or 8 and he was more of a project, but Fields, I think if Fields was in that draft, he would have been the 1st or 2nd guy taken. And I think that's how he would be in pretty much any draft. I think he'll be insane to watch with those weapons. Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, all the running backs, whatever one they have seems to be really good. And their O-line is pretty good too. Shanahan's obviously a great play caller. So I want to see what Shanahan can do with a but someone who has the athletic profile of Fields, because he really hasn't had that since RG3. And RG3 he looked pretty good his first year. So
yeah. And Fields is probably the most, other than Matt Ryan, has he ever had a quarterback that's this accurate throwing down the field? I don't think so. So, yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer. So, Blake, now you're on the clock with what I think is the hardest pick in the draft because of the way we outlined our draft.
Yeah.
Atlanta obviously has a million defensive needs, but there's no trades in this draft. So what are you going to do it for? Are you going to take the quarterback behind Matt Ryan? Are you going to take the best player in this draft? What are you going to do?
Okay, so this is an interesting one. So I know a lot of people say they're going to take a quarterback and develop him for the future. I don't think they will do that. I really don't. Now, I know Matt Ryan's older and people may point to him being the problem. Matt Ryan is not the problem in Atlanta. I don't think he ever has been the problem in Atlanta. And I did want to say too, I think this kind of went under the radar as far as how it relates to the draft, but Matt Ryan got restructured, meaning he has more guaranteed money in the future, and that's usually a sign of saying we want him here for those years because his money's guaranteed. They wouldn't restructure him just to cut him later and have more dead cap. Like, that would just be moronic. So I really don't think that's quarterback is what they're going to go here. Now, they could go quarterback, and I would understand that. I think Sewell would be an option here, but Julio's getting up there in age. Ridley's pretty good, but besides those two guys, they don't really have a difference maker. And like Julio and Ridley are awesome, right? Like, I'm not taking away, but I'm going Kyle Pitts here, who I think is probably I think he's probably a generational tight end or pass catcher, whichever one you want to say. His size and athleticism, like, that just does not come around very often. You compare his measurables to Calvin, and I mean, if you put them player A and player B, you wouldn't be able to tell the two apart, really. So that's cool, and I think he's the go-to guy for the Falcons. But Sewell wouldn't be a bad option.
Yeah, there's nothing much more to say, as he's the best player in this draft. They got to take him. Atlanta has spent a lot of capital in their offensive line, especially going back in last year, taking 2 offensive linemen. So they've done that and done that. So right here, to me, it's you got to take the best player available, just because there's no trades, and Kyle Pitts is by far the best player in this draft.
And I will say, Sewell, I would be cool if they took Sewell. This is kind of a, like, if they went Sewell or Pitts, I would understand that. But like Vish said, they have invested a lot into the O-line.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time to give their tight end position a little more love. Hayden Hurst wasn't bad, but I mean, Kyle Pitts is a little better than he is.
In an ideal world, Atlanta trades down to it trades down and recoups
8 or 9
capital and picks the best defensive player. I would say even 13, 14, because I don't think there's a real top 10 defensive player in this draft, though. I think we'll end up having a couple go. But yeah, I think unfortunately there's no trades. You just got to take by far the best player, and that's Kyle Pitts too.
Definitely. Which
brings me to pick 5, and this is a no-brainer to me. I don't even think there's a lot of conversation. I know people say Jamar Chase. That's sacrilegious to me. You got to protect Joe Burrow. This is a no-brainer. Penei Sewell was excellent in his 2 years at Oregon. If he played this year, I think he would be right there with Kyle Pitts amongst the names when you say the best player in this draft. So this to me is a no-brainer. It's Penei Sewell.
I'm with you. I would be bamboozled if they took Jamar Chase. For me, it just does not make a whole lot of sense. Like, they have a bottom 3 O-line. Now, a lot of teams say, oh, our O-line's not this. It's, we're missing people. Their O-line is legitimately not good.
Right.
Besides maybe one, you could say Riley Reif is like their second best O-lineman, and that's saying something, because if he's your second best O-lineman, I'm not going to, tear him down, but the other guys around him aren't the best either. And Sewell looks like he could be special. Just his athletic profile. He was a beast at Oregon. I guess you could say his technique's not the best, but that can always improve. And physically, he is something else.
Look, if they take Sewell, they have an opportunity to actually have a good offensive line, because Riley Reif will go to right tackle, Sewell will play left tackle, Jonah Williams will play guard, and Billy Price was a top 22 pick in the draft. So they have talent now in their offensive line. If they don't, even with the signing of Riley Reif, the drafting of Jonah Williams, and the drafting of Billy Price, they won't have a good offensive line. This is a no-brainer to me. You got to take Penei Sewell.
I'm with you.
Blake, who are you taking at 6? This is Miami. This is an interesting spot.
This is very interesting. So I think they got to go with the receiver here. They kind of lack talent on the outside. Parker's pretty good. Gesicki's pretty good. Their O-line's decent. They have a lot of capital invested in that. Running back's not the best, but I would never take a running back this high, especially with these dudes around them. So I think they could go Chase, Waddle, or Smith. My favorite guy is Waddle, but I think for their offense, I think Smith would be awesome. And someone did mention they did pick up Will Fuller. Now he is, I believe, suspended a few games, but he would be kind of the speedster guy, which Waddle's obviously that. So Smith's he's amazing at everything, to be honest with you. So he is a speedster too, but He's more of just a can do anything. And he also did play with
Tua.
he played with Tua.
Yeah.
They balled out. So I'm going Devonta Smith there.
So, yeah, for me, Devonta Smith is the best receiver in the draft. We talked about why we think Devonta Smith is the best receiver in the draft. Blake thinks Waddle, and why Eric Crocker, the best draft analyst, in my opinion. We did a video on our channel. Go check it out. So I won't get too much into that. But the reason I think Smith, over Chase, you should go check it out. Well, it's really explained there. The reason I think Smith is also the perfect fit for Miami, and we're taking a lot of time, so we might have to speed up. So I'll be a little quicker with this. But the reason I think Smith is the perfect fit for Miami is because of instant separation. Smith separates instantly off the line of scrimmage, and that's what Tua needs. And I think that's really important for Tua. I don't think Tua's really a contested ball thrower. I don't think he's the kind of guy that has the guts to, or not the guts, I don't want to say guts, but throws the football when things look covered and he's got to throw a guy open. Especially last year, he was very much a see it open type thrower, or anticipate windows occasionally. So to me, Devonta Smith is the best fit at number 6. I agree with you. Anything more to add?
No, and I was going to say too, so we've taken a little time. I think we're going to speed it up and try to keep it to around a minute per pick, but I think
that's my fault. That's my fault.
Nah, you're good.
All right, perfect. So we get to number 7, and I think Detroit's in an interesting spot. I would probably take Jamar Chase, and I think that's what they would end up going if they were in this spot. But to me, this is where Trey Lance makes so much sense. So I'm going to take Trey Lance, and here's why, right? Trey Lance, I think everybody kind of agrees, is this weird kind of mix between he has no experience, he's a developmental guy, but the stuff you see when he actually does it is so good. But then there's stuff that's so inconsistent where you kind of just don't know what he is. He's a giant enigma. Well, Dan Campbell just signed a 6-year contract, right? So we're assuming that he's going to at least spend 3 years there. They got Jared Goff, who's kind of the perfect bridge quarterback. They're going to have time to build weapons and build a receiving core. There's no pressure to be good next year. They have a solid offensive line. DeAndre Swift looked really good last year. This is the perfect place to me for Trey Lance to go, whether it's sit and develop or play immediately, depending on whether he beats out Goff. To me, this is the perfect spot for him.
I agree with you. Now, a lot of people say, develop your quarterbacks, especially Lance, because he's raw. It's perfect for the Lions because, they obviously they're clearly rebuilding their quarterback, as you mentioned, long contract, and Goff's only there for 2 years. But if Lance looks ready, whether that's day 1 or, after year 1 or maybe even after year 2, you have the flexibility to do that. So if I'm a Lions fan, I think Lance fits really well with their timeline.
Yeah, 100%. And just one more thing to add, you mentioned, I think he's also a perfect fit for Anthony Lynn's offense. And then the Matthew Stafford trade, those picks not realistically, excuse me. I read realistically in the comments and I said realistically, but no, those picks kick in very soon. So over the next couple years. And so it's a perfect time to have your quarterback and then use those picks to invest on premium positions elsewhere.
Yep, definitely.
All right. 8, Blake, who are you taking? Carolina Panthers.
This has got to be Rashawn Slater. Taylor Moton on the right side is really good. Left side, left tackle, there's a need there. Rashawn Slater's a really good prospect. Not as good as Sewell, but I think Slater's going to be pretty good. And, he just fits really well for them, and I think it's a good value. Not much to say.
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. There's not much else to say other than they have a need at left tackle. Rashawn Slater, some people don't think he can be a left tackle. I personally do, and I think he's a perfect fit for what they're looking for. At 9, so this to me is kind of the hardest pick with Denver because they don't really have a lot of needs. I don't really want to take Mac Jones. I understand how poorly Drew Lock played last year, but I still believe in Drew Lock's potential. I think he should be given one more year, and I think they should be looking to pick up Teddy B or Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what they should be looking for to solve their quarterback issues. I think they need to go linebacker here. They have a great secondary. They have a talented pass rush. They have a solid offensive line, though I think right tackle could improve, but I don't want to take Darisaw here. Maybe Vera Tucker. So I'm going to take actually who's the second linebacker on my board. I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah,
Koromoa.
excuse me, I always mess up his name, is the best linebacker in this draft. I just think at 215 pounds, he's more of a 4.3 off-ball linebacker. I think Micah Parsons at 245 pounds, 4.3 speed. He freelances a little too much for my liking, but I think he's a hell of an athlete, and he would be a good pick for Denver right here and a good fit. And Vic Fangio could probably coach him out of freelancing.
I'm with you. Their defense is really talented. Middle linebacker is kind of their weakest position right now. But yeah, as we've mentioned before, like their secondary might be the best in the league. And that's not hyperbole. Like that's the reality of the fact. They get Von Miller back. Their D line's pretty solid. Linebackers really where they're missing. And if they get, 4.3, 8 speed linebacker who's a heat-seeking missile, watch out. That defense would
hell of a blitzer too.
Yes. Awesome. So I think I'm back on the clock now. Jerry Jones is tempted to go receiver here. They only have 3 quality ones. A 4th could be imminent, but I'm going to pass on Smith and Waddle. I'm going corner. Their defense, worst in the league. Maybe not the actual worst, but it's bottom 5. They have holes at pretty much every level. I'm going corner, though. I'm pairing up the former teammates Trayvon Diggs and Patrick Surtain. Surtain can do it all. Awesome corner. I think he's the highest rated on this board. Some people could debate, between him, Farley, and Horn. I'm just taking Surtain. They're going to get another Bama boy back there, and, he's going to help because their secondary is just really not all that great. So
right, and perfect fit for Dan Quinn. What they do, cover 3, Seattle scheme, he fits that perfectly. I think that's a great pick. 11 with the Giants. So I'm really tempted because Jamar Chase is just sitting here, and I think he's a perfect fit for the Giants. But they just signed Kenny Golladay, so I am not gonna go Giants, and I'm going to leave Jamar Chase for you to just give him to the Eagles because that's really an ideal fit. I'm going to go edge rusher. In an ideal world, I think this pick would be Jalen Phillips, but the concussions are worrisome. I think he's the best edge in the draft. I'm going to say Kwity Paye. I think that he's what they need. He's explosive. He's well-built. He's strong. I think they need an edge rusher. Again, in an ideal world, I would take Jalen Phillips. I can't take him because of the concussion, so I'm going to go Kwity Paye.
And they might honestly be in a not terrible position to trade back because I don't think, the Eagles, the Chargers, or the Vikings would take him. Probably not the Patriots either. So if they traded back a little bit, maybe picked up like a mid-round pick, that would not be bad for them, to be honest with you. But so now I'm up at 12. This is probably the easiest pick I've made besides Surtain. Jamar Chase is definitely going to be the pick here. They need a receiver desperately. They always seem to get the guy who's not – they always seem to draft the wrong receiver. 2018, they took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside instead of DK Metcalf. Last year, they took Rieger over Justin Jefferson. I mean, for all we know, whatever receiver they take is probably not going to be as good as the receiver taken before them, but we're going Jamar Chase here. I would say Waddle, but they don't need a speed guy. They took Rieger last year, and it'd be really nice getting Jalen Hurts a little help out there. The receiving room is not the best. Greg Ward is your number 2 option, is not ideal, but Jamar Chase is an athletic freak. Everyone has him as a top, 6-7 guy, but he's fallen a little bit for us. So I'm going with him at 12.
Yeah, and again, I think this is a great pick, and I think this is a really good spot for Jamar Chase. Yeah. I think both of us aren't as high on Jamar Chase as the national media consensus. Again, if you want to know why, there's a video on our channel.
Tons of videos.
There's 2 videos on our channel, actually, both with Crocker. One that explains why we all 3 don't feel. I don't think Croc even feels Jamar Chase is the best receiver. So that, and then another one explaining why I think Devonta Smith, Croc thinks Devonta Smith, and Blake thinks Waddle. Definitely go check it out. That'll definitely help you out. So I think the Chargers at 13, this fell perfectly. This is a no-brainer pick for me. Yeah. This is Christian Darrisaw. He's a mammoth human being. He's exactly what the doctor ordered. They needed a left tackle. Now they shore up that offensive line for Justin Herbert with the left tackle in Darrisaw, right tackle in Bulaga, center in Lindsley. Matt Filer will fill in at left guard, who they signed as well. This is going to be a good offensive line. They can pick up more depth in the middle rounds of this draft. This is perfect to me.
I'm with you on that. Their O-line was really bad last year. I am concerned about Brian Bulaga's health. He seems to perpetually get injured, unfortunately. I mean, I love him. Everyone knows Brian Bulaga, Iowa, one of the legends. But, they have – Lindsley's a really great pickup for them. If they get a left tackle, their O-line's going to be considerably better than last year, and it was really bad last year. So I like it.
Perfect. Pick 14, Blake. I pretty much know where you're going.
Yeah,
let's hear you say it.
So the Vikings have been pretty unfortunate for the offensive side of the football this offseason. Defensively, they've improved massively, almost more than any team, just when you look at turnover and just the talent they've got. But their O-line, they struck out on Joe Thuney, struck out on Orlando Brown. You name any O-lineman that they would have ever wanted, they are not available from free agency. So they need someone desperately. Vera Tucker can play guard or tackle. He's versatile in that sense. And they need anything. So I'm going with him. Pretty solid tackle out of USC. Fills a need that they've neglected for ever since Cousins been there. I feel even longer than that. Probably like the last 5 years.
Yeah. To me, Vera Tucker kind of a no-brainer there. I think he's actually capable of being a good tackle in the NFL. I think he can be a great guard. I think he's one of the better players in this entire draft. I think if this happened to the Vikings, they should be running the card up because Vera Tucker this year, Jefferson last year, that's perfect to me.
Yes.
So we get to 15, and the thing with these quarterbacks is I think outside of the top three, especially with the no trades, it's been kind of hard to pencil in where these guys are going to go. I don't even think I would have personally taken Trey Lance at 7 as much as the fact that I just thought the Lions were such a perfect fit because he suits their timeline so well. So at 15, right, this seems like the perfect Mac Jones spot, but I'm going to throw you a little curveball here because I know at 16 with the Arizona Cardinals, you would immediately take this player, and I don't want the Arizona Cardinals to get this player. So I'm going to take Jalen Waddle. Bill Belichick loves Alabama guys. I don't see Bill Belichick taking a quarterback in the first round of this draft anyway. The value between Waddle and Mac Jones, it doesn't compare. Waddle is a better player in this draft than Mac Jones is.
Yes.
They got two receivers that are possession guys in Kendrick Bourne, and Aguilar is a little more than a possession guy, but their offense needs explosion. I can't wait to see what Josh McDaniels does with them. To me, Jalen Waddle here it's too good value to pass up.
Yeah, he's my favorite receiver, my number one receiver. I would be I don't know if I'd be happy with him going there just because, I think him and Kyler would be awesome, him and Derek Carr. But, maybe Cam can turn the clock back for a little bit with some better receivers, more continuity with the O-line. But Waddle's going to be awesome wherever he goes. That's all I know. And, yeah, this offense is missing a dynamic element. They have solid guys, but Rex Burkhead and Damian Harris aren't, going for 80-yard touchdowns every other play. So this will be interesting. And so I'm up next. And I think this kind of felt nice for the Cardinals. They lost Patrick Peterson. Their secondary, their corners, at least, I don't think are the best. Budda Baker's really good. So I think they need to go corner here. I'm going J.C. Horn. Fill Pat Pete's shoes. Give them some talent at the cornerback position, which I don't believe they have very much. Vish, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, they don't. Patrick Peterson's gone. Yeah, definitely.
So I think that worked out really well for them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think J.C. Horn is a perfect pick for them. It's kind of unfortunate because J.C. Horn's an absolute baller. He's physical. He's really good. But I think Arizona is a good spot for him. And the one thing I'll say about J.C. Horn is he's a little bit grabby, and that's going to get called in the NFL. He's a true press corner. He's physical. I think Brandon Ayuk would have his way with J.C. Horn. I'm just going to say that right now. I think there's certain guys J.C. Horn really matches up well with. I think he's for sure a first-round pick. He's a baller corner. But But I think Brandon Ayuk would absolutely dominate JC Horn. That's just the way I feel about it. But that leads me to